Hi, everybody. My name is Carlos Spivey, and today I'm going to be talking about biodiversity loss and habitat fragmentation. I'm currently attending Unity College. This is, I believe, my second year, and I'm in the Environmental Protections course 201. So we'll be moving forward, and we'll start with an introduction to biodiversity loss. Biodiversity refers to the number of genes, species, and organisms within a species in a biological area or ecosystem. This loss is a decrease in the number of genes, species, or organisms in a given environment. Biodiversity loss also covers a decrease in genetic variability and the decrease in the variety of species in an ecosystem. So the impacts of biodiversity loss are pretty extreme and include sudden population declines, increased rates of inbreeding, and upsets in already established natural social structures among species. When sudden population declines happen, breeding is few and far between, mates can't find compatible mates, and things just start to decrease. We lose species. And now this can also happen with plants and shrubs and flowers and insects as well. It's not exclusive to mammals. Now, touching on biodiversity loss, in large, it is caused by habitat fragmentation. And habitat fragmentation occurs when an ecological region, as you can see here on the left, is broken into multiple smaller fragments, as you can see here on the right. When this happens, a larger area of the natural habitat is then exposed to a harmful outside influence like pollution. As you can see by the images here, the animals that were all around on the outside are now even more so on the outside. This impact heavily reduces the ecosystem's sustainability. It also limits where the animals in the given area can continue to thrive and develop. It cuts populations in half, and as I mentioned previously, it leads to inbreeding and other breeding issues and a loss of variety of species. You can see that here in this image as well, where the reptiles are forced into this small section, the birds are forced up to the top, and the bears are totally just misplaced. They're displaced, I should say. Um, they usually leave to find a new habitat, causing other issues in those already established habitats, like a rise in competition for food, for example. Destruction and degradation of natural ecosystems are the primary causes of declines in global biodiversity. Habitat destruction typically leads to fragmentation, the division of a habitat into smaller and more isolated fragments separated by a matrix of human transformed land cover. By fragmenting ecosystems into smaller, less diverse groups through the likes of urbanization, road building, or any type of new construction, we are directly decreasing the genetic and species variety of the given area. While it may not be intentional, this is still an issue that many populations in the United States are facing today and other countries. So, what can you do to help? This video is being addressed to Pennsylvania residents and lawmakers specifically. Residents can urge their lawmakers to focus on protecting high quality wildlife green spaces, managing already degraded ecosystems, and improving the permeability of land that is being used for further development. Things like animal crossings and federally and state protected lands can limit the impact that already fragmented environments are facing. Creating a new green space is another way we can work to combat the impact of fragmentation, but further fragmentation through that construction needs to be considered. We don't want to ruin a new habitat while we're trying to build a habitat. So I'm not going to play the video. My computer's being a little wonky. Every time I try to play it, it freezes up on me. So what I'll do is I'll just go over it. This is my ecological framework model, and it covers habitat fragmentation and biodiversity loss. As you can see, some anthropogenic factors include housing and fracking, farming. Even farming is one thing that really stuck out to me. And that habitat fragmentation, that's caused by humans, and that leads to fragmentation, which ultimately falls under a loss of biodiversity. Now, direct anthropogenic factors that lead straight to a loss of biodiversity are like illegal hunting and poaching and overfishing in certain areas. Looking at some ecological factors that lead to fragmentation would include forest fires, volcanic eruptions, strong winds or storms that destroy tree lines. That would fragment a habitat, which would lead to a loss of biodiversity. And then directly, invasive species are a big problem. Food competition from stray animals and animals that aren't supposed to be in the area And then hybridization is a big problem that leads to a loss of genetic variability, bringing down the biodiversity rates in an area. There's a little image here that kind of shows what fragmentation does, similar to the last one I showed you. Um, you can see the butterflies are split between black and yellow here, and then when the habitat is split, more black butterflies move to the bottom, whereas only one is at the top and two yellow butterflies are at the top. So, to cover some current and previous action that has been taken, the Endangered Species Coalition has developed several strategies to address habitat fragmentation in the state of Pennsylvania through the promotion of wildlife corridors, an area of habitat connecting wildlife populations separated by fragmentation. Communication to local lawmakers is essential in pushing these protections, and state lawmakers have been put in contact surrounding the issue. Building a support group of volunteers and activists by spreading the word throughout the state has proven effective and has been in development for about 2 years through the Endangered Species Coalition. So this is all stuff that is happening and it's in action as we speak, as I give this presentation. Wildlife corridors have been in place throughout the state and have proven to be an effective method of combating detrimental levels of fragmentation that have proven to be harmful to our environment. There are multiple petitions in place to get the word out to lawmakers and state officials in regard to spreading the Wildlife Corridor Project that the ESC has so effectively been working to enact. Now, this can only be done if it's done properly, and with enough volunteer help and with enough support, it will continue to take action. While many steps have been taken throughout the state of Pennsylvania, we still have a long way to go in order to fully enact the Wildlife Corridor Project. Some things still need to be ironed out. For example, heavier political support is necessary to continue to develop these areas, and without it, we will continue to see issues surrounding fragmented ecosystems throughout the area. To just touch on one thing, in a couple of my discussion posts throughout this course, I talked about the shell cracker plant. The shell cracker plant has been in development for the past few years and has only recently just come to like the last 80% of their construction. They have a little bit more to go, and they're going to be open for business. In doing this, they've displaced animals, they've harmed the water sources. Soil erosion has gotten worse. Deforestation in our area has increased tenfold since this factory has opened. So that's just something that we should consider as a need. With these kind of developments happening, we need these protections for our wildlife and for our ecosystem to continue to thrive and grow. The Pennsylvania Wildlife Action Plan is a proposed protections plan that was introduced in 2015 and is expected to remain in place until 2025. This covers a slew of different methods of conservation and protections that have been put in place to continue protecting and ensuring the future of our forests and wildlife habitats. While this is a very, very nice thing to have going for our ecosystem, it does end in 3 years, which is a bit of a concern. But I'm sure within time there will be new acts put into place, new plans. Just to talk about some of my swag, this bumper sticker was designed to spread the word about habitat fragmentation and hit home the impact that urbanization projects and construction has on all of the species here in the state of PA. It's a simple but effective way to spread the word and easily slapping a sticker on one's vehicle. It's easy to read, it stands out because of the colors. I feel like it would prove effective because everybody has a favorite animal. And the chances are one of those animals is featured in this image. These are also all local animals that we do have in the state of Pennsylvania. I believe the fish on the bottom is a trout. Could be a salmon, could be wrong. I don't know. If it's a trout, they're here. But I featured the white-tailed deer. I featured a coyote, a raccoon, a bear, fox, rabbit, and the fish, and plenty of birds in the background. This is a sticker that I would personally have on my car. I like it a lot, and I think it would go a long way in just simply spreading the word and trying to get out what habitat fragmentation really is about. And it mentions it was their home first. They were here before us, and now we're stepping on their toes. Future direction of the topic research. It seems that within the next 3 years, the Wildlife Action Plan will cease to be in action and will need to further establish new and updated protections, like I mentioned before. In order to prevent further habitat destruction, more studies on large developments in the state need to be done to better understand the impact and influence more lawmakers locally. It seems like in the state of Pennsylvania, lawmakers are kind of falling flat on taking the side of ecologists and conservationists. So it would be really nice to see some of them supporting our efforts. And in that, thank you for your time. This is my contact information. My name is Carlos N. Spivey. I can be reached at cspivey20 at unity.edu. My phone number is 412-758-8613.